You've been told to find yourself, to become someone, to stand out. But what if that self you're trying so hard to build is the very thing holding you back? The idea of ego death sounds terrifying. But to philosophers and psychologists alike, it may be the only way to live authentically. What is the ego really? Sigmund Freud saw the ego as a middleman mediating between primal urges and moral ideals. It keeps us socially acceptable, yes, but it also becomes a breeding ground for anxiety, insecurity, and chronic comparison. Carl Jung went further. To him, the ego is a necessary fiction, a limited self-image floating atop a vast unconscious ocean. What we show to the world is just the mask, the persona. The real self lies hidden beneath. And here lies the issue. We mistake the mask for the person. We become prisoners of our own identity. Ego death, liberation, not annihilation. Ego death isn't self-destruction. It's self-liberation. Imagine your ego as a psychological cage built from labels. I'm a success. I'm a failure. I'm this kind of person. But the door? It was never locked. In Zen Buddhism, this awakening is called Kensho, a sudden glimpse into your true nature. Alan Watts described it perfectly. The real you is not a puppet which life pushes around. The real, deep-down you is the whole universe. The moment you stop clinging to your identity, something deeper emerges. Presence, compassion, true strength. Why the ego fights back. But make no mistake, your ego will fight. Because it thrives on fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being seen. Fear of being insignificant. Nietzsche warned of this when he said, "Man is something that shall be overcome." He wasn't talking about becoming superhuman, he meant shedding the illusions we're addicted to. That wave of anger when you're criticized? That jealousy? That craving to be seen? That's not the real you. That's your ego, panicking. The ego in relationships, mirror or mask. Nothing reveals the ego quite like human connection. In relationships, your ego doesn't want intimacy, it wants control. It wants to be right, admired, needed. But love that's filtered through ego becomes performance. Transactional. Fragile. True connection requires vulnerability. The courage to be seen without the armor. As Eric Fromm said, immature love says, "I love you because I need you." Mature love says, "I need you because I love you." When the ego steps back, authenticity steps forward. And only then can real love begin. Real-life echoes of ego death. Consider the sages, artists, and thinkers who detached from public validation. Lao Tzu walked away from a royal life. Socrates embraced death rather than betray his principles. Jung defied Freud despite the cost to his career. These weren't ego-driven choices. They were acts of clarity, moments where the soul overruled the mask. Meanwhile, look around. The most fragile people are often the loudest. Always defending. Always explaining. Always reacting. Why? Because the ego is loud. Truth is quiet. The trap of the spiritual ego. And here's the twist. The ego can evolve. It can start wearing robes. Speaking in quotes. It starts telling you, you've transcended. That you're more awakened than others. Jung called this the shadow of the self. It's when the ego grows subtle but not smaller. You're not free, you're just wrapped in a new illusion. Beware of those who need you to know they're enlightened. True awakening isn't performative. Still. Grounded. Unconcerned with applause. The silent power of presence. Most people are addicted to noise, external and internal. But presence is the antidote. And presence is impossible when ego is in charge. Ego says, what's next? How do I look? Who's watching? The self says, this moment is enough. Philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti believed that freedom begins when we observe ourselves, without judgment, without identity. In that silence, the ego dissolves. And something timeless enters the room. When you master presence, you don't need to dominate anyone, because you are no longer trying to prove anything. Should you commit ego death? Yes. But not with fireworks and finality. It's not a single event. It's a constant question. Am I acting from fear or from freedom? Am I protecting an identity or responding from truth? Every time you choose presence over performance, you chip away at the ego's grip. A paradox worth embracing. Here's the paradox. The less you try to be someone, the more you become everything you were meant to be. Marcus Aurelius knew this when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The ego clings. The soul releases. One drains you. The other fills you. You don't need to destroy the ego. Just remember it's a servant, not a master. The quiet return to self. Every time you choose stillness over reaction. Compassion over pride. Curiosity over certainty. You move closer to your true self. You don't need to become anything. You need to remember that you are not the image. You are the awareness behind it. That's the real revolution. If this stirred something in you, don't ignore it. You're here because you're tired of the surface. You're here to explore what most people run from. Identity, consciousness, suffering, transformation. We dive into philosophy and psychology not to escape the world, but to understand it, to grow, to wake up. So if you're someone who questions your beliefs, craves depth over dopamine, feels the pull to evolve beyond ego, then you belong here. Subscribe, and together we'll keep shedding the mask and start living from the self. And remember, the less you defend the mask, the closer you come to the truth. And truth, raw, quiet, and real, is what makes you unshakable.